Hello people, I am making this video for the Oxford University's Creative Writing Master Degrees reading list because I've looked online many times. I've tried to find more information about the course, but the information is pretty limited. Never found a reading list, so if you are curious as to what might this course entail in terms of reading and writing, all of that stuff, then this is the video for you. You might also be wondering, creative writing, that's a real degree here. Believe it or not, it is. And you might think as well that it's probably a waste of time because you don't actually need to learn how to write in like an academic institution to become good at writing, which you're right, I agree with you there. But there is a reason why I am here and studying the subject is because I do think it has its own benefits beyond writing, but also focusing on my writing as well. So that is why I've decided to undertake the course and see where it takes me. But if it does bother you so much and you have lots of questions about why I'm even taking this course in the first place, then I can answer those questions in another video. But this video is mainly focused on the reading list, which has been split into three areas. We have prose, which will be the fiction. We have poetry, it's number 2. And number 3 is drama, because those are the main 3 subject areas which the master's degree will cover. And FYI, the master's is a 2 years part-time. There's no alternative, no full-time, but I would much rather do a part-time just because you get to spend more time in the city and see what's up. Now, bear in mind before I go into the reading list, I got sent this probably about 2 months before my course starts, and I was working almost full-time, so there's probably about 30 things we have to read, including plays, thick books on theory and all of that stuff, and working, writing and all of that. I can't read all of this, and some of it is a bit theory dense, so I don't really want to read it all, but it is highly recommended that we do. So I've been making my way through it, and I'm reading multiple books at once just to help make it feel as if I'm making progress. So anyway, let's start off with the sole piece of fiction in the prose section, which is flash fiction, 72 very short stories. I will be reading off my computer because there are so many to memorize and I don't want to be wasting time doing that. I would just much rather deliver the video this way. So I've only read one short story from this compilation. I will probably read more, but because they're flash fiction, I can shoot my way through it. But it's not one of the necessary readings, it's just something that's been listed here that will be referenced in our seminars. Flash fiction, interesting. Do many people write it? Probably not. Should more people write it? That is not a question for me to answer. Do I write it much? Not really. I used to. When I was first starting to enter competitions and stuff, I would enter purely flash fiction competitions. I got published in 2 actually. The front page for 1. First time, probably last time as well. Book number 2, now we're getting into the theory of the reading list. This is pretty much recommended and required. Can't be both recommended and required, but it's too bad. Anyway, we have Christopher Butler's Early Modernism in Literature, Music and Painting in Europe, 1900s to 1916. That's a lot of stuff. I mean, we're talking about modernism. This is one of those artistic movements, but the main focus, I think, for this course is actually postmodernism. So basically, the response to modernism. Have I read this book? No. Will I read it? It's not one I can really get my hands on. They're pretty expensive, and I've already got some of these books, but that is not one I'll be reading. Now we have postmodernism, a very short introduction, also by Christopher Butler. This is published by Oxford University Press. I do have my hands on this book, and I have been reading it. This is one to start off with because it is more it's more accessible, because the ones that will follow you'll see are not, and you can only read like a few pages at a time. I can only read a few pages at a time before I'm stunned by the academic language and the twists and turns of how these people write a subject. I mean, I thought they're trying to teach me, not confuse me and, you know, repel me. Anyway, we have Postmodernist Fiction by Brian McHale. I also have this, and I'm just dipping into it. They cover pretty much the same thing, which is about postmodernism. I will not go into postmodernism in this video, but maybe if people really want to know about postmodernism, then I can make another video on it. Then we have Modernisms by Peter Nichols, Metafiction by Patricia Wow, This one I was reading, this is one of the first ones that I read, and it is about, as the title states, it's about metafiction, which is, I guess, like an aesthetic of postmodernism, which is the fact when there is fiction, it acknowledges itself being fiction. So it draws attention to the fact that it is a piece of writing and it is telling a story. Lots of books won't really engage with like metafictive storytelling because people just like to read books and just fall into a story. They don't want to be like, oh God, I'm being reminded that I'm reading a story. But I do think there is room for this in the literary world in the future, more accessible with metafictive tales. Who knows, I might even write one myself. Then we have Theory of the Novel. Have not read that, but you're welcome to read it. The Politics of Postmodernism. I've tried reading some of this, but like I said, this stuff is dense, all right? So be warned. Supplanting the Postmodern, an anthology of writings on the arts and cultures of the early 21st century. It's reinforcing the idea that we really have to learn about the postmodern, because I don't know where we are at the moment as like a cultural movement. I think we're kind of branching away from postmodernism. I don't know where that leaves us in the world, what we're writing for, what we're writing about. This was all kind of beyond me. I learned some of this during my undergraduate, but yeah, now they're really making sure that we understand postmodernism, because I think a lot of this course, the creative writing masters here, is very theoretical, right? Unlike other master's degree courses like in UEA, which is a very respectable course, you can just do like a 1 year on novel writing. You don't need to learn much about theory and all that stuff, but I know Oxford and Cambridge, they really do want to make it academic, but it's appropriate to the institutions, I suppose. But is that appropriate to every person? No. I myself am not much of an academic, but yeah, I'm not academic. Right. Then finally we have, for this reading list, we have Writing Indifference by Derrida. And if you know that name, very big language philosopher. I'm reading some of his books at the moment, some of his essays, which he is infamous for not being accessible. No one really knows what he's talking about unless you're a diehard fan who you think you know what he's talking about, but you're just kind of hoping that you understand what he's talking about, because you don't want to be missing out on all the good stuff that he claims to be preaching. Anyway, now we move on to poetry, right? So we have only 3 books. Actually, there's more, but the first seminar we are required to read these 3 books, which is On Poetry by Glenn Maxwell. I've not read that. Strong Words, which I purchased because from reading the blurb, it sounded very interesting. It's basically like an anthology of famous poets and their little mini essays on poetry. So it's like an insight into a great poet's mind on how to write good poetry. Has it helped me? Not really. In fact, I think it's probably like stalled me from writing any poetry. I don't really write poetry in general, but after reading this, I'm just clogged up with theoretical and philosophical information that I don't really know what to do with it. So sometimes when I just write poetry, I stare at something for a while and nothing really happens. Then we have The Poet's Voice and Craft by Chris McCulley. Have not read it, have not purchased it. Maybe I will if I have time, but probably won't. Right, so now we have the critical seminar, which is about old language and new uses. And the reading list for this is as follows. We have The Poet's Manual and Rhyming Dictionary, another book which I did have before I even knew about this course. And this is very useful. At the end, I'll do a summary of some of the books, the ones that I own, the ones that I think should be added to the reading list, because this reading list doesn't cover certain things which I think it should cover, and I'll go over what makes this book so great. Then we have Don't Ask Me What I Mean, Poets in Their Own Words. You heard it yourself, poets in their own words. Becoming a Writer, there you go. And A Poet's Guide to Poetry. These are all books, I can imagine they say similar things, but it's all out there. I will probably, over the 2 years, along with my other readings and writings that I'll have to do, I will probably dip into all of these books. So I can access them through the university libraries, so I really don't have any excuse not to read them. That's done for poetry, so now we're on to the drama section. We also have some things to watch as well. For example, we have to watch Happy Valley, Series 1, Episode 1. Don't know what that is, never heard of it. We also have to watch EastEnders, I think one of the most recent episodes, something like that. We have to dissect the number of scenes, the beats and storylines. That sounds fun. That's something I've never done before. Never thought I would have to watch EastEnders, but now I do. So can't say I'm really looking forward to it, but I do what I must do, you know. In terms of the reading list, we have one of the kings, one of the goats of the English storytelling world, William Shakespeare. We have A Midsummer's Night Dream. I've read this once. I will read it again to refresh my memory and try to struggle through his very clever, somewhat dated language. Then we have King Charles III by Mike Bartlett, The Cocktail Party by T.S. Eliot, Alcestis or Alcestis by Ted Hughes, A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, and Brand, also by Henrik Ibsen. And then we have London Road by Alicky Blythe. I think that's how you say it. Now, for all the plays, because they're so easy to find online, I will read all of these, without a doubt. I'll probably read them twice as well, just so I fully understand. But what you might notice about a lot of these plays is that they're not traditional, they're not written in a traditional, I don't really know what using the word traditional, because I don't know what is traditional about playwriting, but these plays, lots of them are written in verse, right? So the meter and the rhyme and the structuring of the play stands out. There is some academic digging to do with this, because we've also been giving a secondary reading list to support some of these plays. For example, we have Dramaturgy of Form, and we have Theories of the Theatre, a critical and historical survey from the Greeks to the present, and finally verse drama in England. So as you can see, they really want us to understand verse drama, because I think the reason why is they want to know, is verse drama, does it still have its place in storytelling on stage? I don't know yet, because I haven't read all of this stuff. Do I think it has a place on stage? Probably, but for a very reserved audience. I can't imagine it's gonna, you know, become like mainstream on Netflix. Not that that's important, but it's a factor. So there you have it. That is the whole reading list. That is the reading list for one term. And overall, throughout my whole 2 years, we will have 6 terms, so I'll probably have to read close to around 200 books. That's of required reading. But additional reading on top of that, my own stuff, it'll be more than 200 books, because I think this reading list misses out on many things. So now I'm going to go into some of my gripes with the reading list. The main one is, we are not given much fiction to read, because I was surprised that we weren't given any actual poems or storytelling books to read, or even books on how to write storytelling. For example, like Chuck Palahniuk's book on writing, Stephen King's book on writing, Patricia Highsmith's book on writing, How to Write Tension, etc., etc. We're not given these, we're just given theory. And I don't know how much theory can really propel us to become better writers. I mean, we could have a better understanding of writing and why we might write and the effects of it on culture and society, but is it really going to make us write better? That's one thing I think kind of, I don't know. That's one thing with academia which I think is a bit of a problem. I haven't thought too much about it, so I can't really express myself too clearly, but I think when everything is over academicized, if that's a word, then you kind of lose touch with the rest of everything, you know, because not everyone has the privilege to learn, and not everyone has the privilege to understand what some of these people are even writing about. So I think to kind of gatekeep some of this literary writing to people who can understand it, then people aren't going to be reading, and I think more people should be reading. That's the one reason why I want to do this course, is so I can really understand the whole scope of everything and find my place in the middle, so that I can attract readers from everywhere. I think reading is important. More people should do it. Not enough people are doing it, and more guys need to be reading. Guys, they don't read as much, you know, it's terrible. But there we go. Right, so now moving on to my reading list, which I've been doing on top of this. I think I'm just reading this for fun at the moment. This is the bookmark for the footnotes. Infinite Jest, really good writing, very complex, definitely not accessible. Most people will probably go their whole lives not reading it, not even thinking about it, which is, you know, probably good for them, because if you want to tackle a titan, then this is the book. But I really enjoy it. I really like David Foster Wallace's writing style, and I think he does fall into like a postmodernist, more on that another time. But he is someone who I would like to take after in terms of writing. Boom, we have the literary anthology, heavy, bigger than my head. My head is pretty big, so this really goes to show that this freaking book is fat. That covers all sorts of literary theories, and it also covers things like structuralism, postmodernism, modernism, language, semiotics, all of these things, which when I don't understand the essays that we have to read, I can dip into this, which helps, it kind of holds my hand through these things. So here's another one. Here is Strong Words, like I was talking about. It is just filled with great little bits of information. Poet's Manual, also really good, because at the end of it there is a rhyming dictionary, which is probably the most valuable thing about this book, is that you can dip in and just look at the rhymes for almost all of the sounds in the English language. Poems by John Keats. I found this by my bedside, so I just thought I'd bring it with me when I moved in, because we haven't really been given much poetry to read. So I'm filled up with all of this theoretical, poetic knowledge, but I don't read too much poetry at the moment. I mean, I've read like poetry in the past, but not as much as I read fiction. But anyway, John Keats, do I understand all of this? No, it's complicated, it's a bit dated, but it's very nice, you know. When you have a little bit of assistance, you can look online for some explanations. This dude wrote really well. Right. More books on writing poetry, because this is the type of stuff they don't set. This is not theory, this is kind of teaching you the basics about poetry and how to write it. And some people might think that you don't actually need to learn how to write poetry because it comes from the soul. There, I disagree with you. Poetry is also a craft, and it's technical as well. You can't just one day wake up and be a poet and write great poetry unless you're a real genius. But otherwise, you do need to learn it. Like most art forms, you cannot just do it and expect it to be good. Even something as, you know, close to you as poetry. There's more to poetry than just writing your emotions down on paper or a website document. I've also been reading some Stephen Fry's mythology books. I've got another one, it's on my bed somewhere, but this is brilliant. And you'll find that a lot of these things in the reading list, they do tie into Greek mythology, especially the playwriting, the dramas that we have to read. For example, The Cocktail Party has been inspired, I think, by Alcestis, which was a Greek myth. Very nice. Another book that I'm trying to read at the moment is Books on Books, which are all the books that inspired Cormac McCarthy's books. So you can see how his books are made of so many other books. This is important, I think, to a writer, because you can see how you can extract information from other stories, make it your own, because that is what writing is, really. That's what a lot of art is seeing something, kind of stealing it, improving on it, injecting in your own style and redistributing it. It's not plagiarism, it's just what art unfortunately is, I think. But anyway, this is another great book. Here is a book on playwriting, which we have not been set. This is one I would highly recommend. It is Stephen Jeffries' Playwriting. If you've never written a play, you know, skip some of the theory of plays and verse. Actually read how to write a play, how to choose a structure for the play, how to choose a setting for the play, how to write good characters, how to have linear development or non-linear linear developments. You can find almost everything in this. This is golden. The art of poetry. How to read a poem, because, I mean, there's so many poems, but I don't know how to read them. I just read them on the page and then I forget about them. I don't understand them well enough. Here you are. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. If I'm honest, I haven't actually read all of it, so it might not be that good. But from what I've read so far, very useful. I think that's it. That's all the books I brought with me to university. I will buy more. Most of it is on this precious thing, which is the Kindle. This is where I do all of my reading. On here, I'm sure to read all of my, you know, like, just all of my fiction. I try to read as much as possible in terms of like what's best selling at the moment, some classic stories as well, because this reading list, it doesn't require you to read any of that. Hopefully that changes in the future, because yeah, like in the next few terms, I'm hoping we do get to read actual poetry, actual fiction, not just theory, because it would be a shame. But I guess that's why it's part-time. You have to set your own reading as well and do your writing, etc., etc. But anyway, I hope this has given you an idea of the course here at Oxford. And if you're interested in joining the Creative Writing Masters, then you can always comment. I may or may not reply, but I will always try my best. The reply may not be useful, but I will always try my best. I'm sorry if I've spoken very quickly as well. I'm just conscious of the time of the video. It's very long already, so I know everyone's attention span is melting. So if yours is already melted, then TikTok is waiting for you. Enjoy. Thank you very much for watching. Peace out.